I've been using this Shure MV7 mic for the past year or so for all of my content and streaming, and it's been amazing. So today I'm going to give you a non-technical review of the pros and cons of this mic in order to help you decide if it's the right one for you. And when I say non-technical, I'm not going to go into heaps of detail on all the different specs of this mic and the frequency response, all that kind of stuff, because what I'm most interested in is, does this mic do what I need it to do on a day-to-day basis? So I have 6 pros and 3 cons of the MV7. For a bit of background, in my first 2 years roughly of creating content, I used the Rode VideoMic Pro as my main mic, and it was great in that it was versatile and really compact, but I did notice it picked up a lot of background noise, and I often would spend a lot of time trying to correct it and make it sound decent in post, which is why I decided to get the MV7. Even though I don't really like having a mic in shot, I'd rather have my mic out of frame. To get a good shotgun mic that would work out of frame meant that I would have had to have gotten like XLR cables, a USB audio interface, and all the accessories that come with that, and I just didn't want to spend that much. So this MV7 ended up costing me about $250 on sale, and it plugs straight into my Mac, which brings me to the first pro of this particular mic, and that is that it's USB. Now, like I just mentioned, for me as someone who values both ease of use and also reducing costs, being able to plug the mic straight into my computer means 2 things. One, there's less things to fiddle around with. All I have to do is just open GarageBand and then I can just start recording straight away. Don't have to fiddle with any extra audio interface and making sure the levels are correct and that kind of thing. And the second thing is the reduced cost in terms of getting extra equipment. I would have either had to have gotten like a Zoom recorder or an audio interface, and both of those cost anywhere from $300 to $500 on top of the actual mic itself. So if you don't want to spend too much and you want a mic that's easy and seamless to use, then I think a USB mic is a really good way to go. The second pro of this particular mic, I think, is the sound, and that was one of the other main reasons why I decided to go for the MV7, because it's kind of like a smaller sibling of the Shure SM7B. And the SM7B is kind of like the most famous podcasting mic out there. You would have seen it in any of the big podcasts. They pretty much all use the Shure SM7B just because it's really great for vocals. It makes your voice sound really nice and warm. And that's kind of what these Shure podcasting mics are famous for. Now, of course, at half the price of an SM7B, the MV7 doesn't sound as good as an SM7B, but because it's made by the same manufacturer and it's similar in terms of the type of mic it is, I think it sounds really good. Now, again, because it is on the cheaper end for these types of mics, there are some compromises you have to make, but I'll talk a bit more about that later. So the third pro of this particular mic is really down to the type of mic that this is, and that is that it's good at reducing external noise. Now, for me, I live in the inner city of Melbourne in Australia, and it's a big city and there's lots of noise often in my area, whether it's like gyms or clubs, or at the moment there's a lot of construction going on around me. And so when I was using my Rode VideoMic Pro, it was often really hard to keep that construction noise in particular out of my videos. And so I'd often have to just wait until the construction noise finished. Whereas because this is a podcasting mic, it's designed to pick up your voice that's quite close to the mic. It's not designed to pick up all sorts of other noises that are further away. And therefore it's really good at just avoiding any of that background noise. And it means I can often even record with some construction noise or music coming from outside, and you actually can't hear it in the recording. And for me, again, as someone who works from home and needs to record videos during the day, and I can't always wait until the construction noise is finished, it's just a huge help because it just means I've got more flexibility to record when I need to. The fourth big pro for this mic is that there's minimal editing required, at least in my experience. Like I mentioned earlier with my Rode VideoMic Pro, oftentimes I'd spend half an hour to an hour just trying to correct and fix up the audio that came through that mic. And it wasn't necessarily because it sounded bad on its own, it just didn't sound quite how I wanted it to, and it'd often be background noise that I had to have to try and equalize out. And so it just meant a lot of extra work in post. Whereas with the MV7, a lot of that extra work is just taken out of the equation. And that's partly because, like I mentioned, it's good at reducing background noise, but also it just sounds good pretty much out of the box. And again, because you're getting a mic that's designed for podcasting and designed for recording vocals like this, Shure have really optimized these mics to make sure that they do sound really good. So now pretty much the only editing I do in post is just to add a compressor. And that's just to reduce any highs and low points in my voice as I speak. But yeah, because there's minimal editing required, it just means I save heaps of time in post. The fifth pro is the really simple Shure Motive Control app. And this is an app that you can install on a computer and basically gives you some extra controls in terms of what you can change and adjust on the mic itself. And I found it quite useful for adjusting the overall tone of how the mic sounds, adjusting things like gain and monitor controls, as well as being able to adjust the gain depending on whether you're sitting close to or further away from the mic itself. And the sixth pro is that it comes with a really good mounting system, I would say. This U-shaped mount can be attached to all sorts of different types of mic stands, and means the setup options for the MV7 are pretty flexible. Like you can have it mounted to a stand on your desk, just sitting on top of your desk, or you can have it mounted to a boom arm. Like me, I've got the Rode PSA 1 boom arm, which just gives you a bit more flexibility and allows me to leave it attached to my desk pretty much all the time. However, this does lead me to the cons for the MV7, and the first one for me is just that it doesn't come with a stand in the box. So obviously, like I said, it includes this U-shaped mount, but you can't actually stand the mount on its own. You need some sort of base or boom arm to attach it to, and you can buy other types of podcasting mics that do have either built-in stands or attached stands already, and it's only a small thing, and I think that's part of the reason why it's also on the cheaper side for a Shure mic, is just because it doesn't come with a stand, but it would be nice to have. The second con is that the plosives are not that good, and if you're not sure what plosives are, it's just when you say lots of P's into the mic. It definitely tends to distort the audio a bit. However, I've actually seen some videos on YouTube talking about how you can remedy that by removing the pop filter that is on the MV7 by default and replacing it with a SM7B pop filter, because they're much higher quality and they're longer. So if that is a problem for you, there definitely is a solution from what I've seen. And the last con for this mic is just that it uses a micro USB instead of a USB-C cable. And this is only a pretty small downside. Like obviously the micro USB-C cable still works. It doesn't affect the quality of the sound or anything like that. I've just noticed that micro USBs tend to be a little bit flimsy, and I've already damaged the end of this one, whereas USB-C cables tend to be a little bit more durable. And also I don't have many micro USB cables anymore, so if this one does break, I'm going to have to go and buy another one rather than just replacing it with one of my many existing USB-C cables. So there you have it. That is my overall review of the Shure MV7. I really like this mic. If you're still not convinced by this type of microphone, then check out this video here where I talk about a whole bunch of different types of microphones that are common for content creators to use, with actual audio examples of each. Other than that, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.